Welcome everybody tonight. Okay, we'll go back one. Welcome. I'd like to welcome all of you tonight to the Indiana Athletic Trainers Association annual business meeting. I'm Becky Clifton, I'm president, and I would like to call this meeting to order. The presentation of tonight's business meeting is included on the members only page of the IATA website for your review. We continue to celebrate the IATA past presidents, and they are listed on this slide. And the following picture was taken at our 40th anniversary celebration. And then I am going to turn this over to Lou so that he can give us an update at this time. Lou, take it away.
Thank you. And in the interest of time, I looked at what Kim put on here. We can track all of that. I think Becky and Lucas wanted me to be on tonight to talk about not where we've been, but where we're going. And so for the purposes of the annual meeting, the advocacy report is there. But the concern, I think, that when Lucas, Becky, Kim, and I met a couple of weeks ago, was to share with you the sort of every time we get a new governor, there is a new and renewed effort to question the need for licensure, professional regulation generally, and what are the threats this year. The governor did an executive order, one of his many at the start of the year, asking for a review of legislation, respect to licensure. Last Thursday, I believe it was, Secretary Mike Speedy, who is the Secretary of Business Affairs for the state of Indiana, made a presentation to the Interim Study Committee on Commerce about licensure. And really, there's an emphasis in the state right now from both the General Assembly and the administration to question whether professions need to be licensed, and if they do need a license, are some of our regulations overly burdensome in getting to employment, to full employment? Are there barriers? And so when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, we thought there was a very, very real threat in the 2026 legislative session toward a, whatever you want to call it. We've dealt with the Eraser Committee. We've dealt with the other committees from governors. It seems to be every 4 to 8 years we deal with this to justify the need for the license. Well, Secretary Speedy at the Commerce Study Committee last Thursday talked about his vision of licensure reform is that the state simply be deferential to national entities that own both the exam and a certification. And why don't we just give to them the authority to process applications, say who should be licensed. We, the state of Indiana, collect a check, and then we move forward. Well, I've met with Secretary Speedy a couple of times and said, that makes sense maybe at initial licensure, but how do we, when you're talking about someone's livelihood that they can and cannot do within the state of Indiana, how do we guarantee their fundamental due process? And I'll make the long story short. I won't bury the lead. After much discussion, there's been a decision on the part of the administration not to move forward with any legislation with respect to licensure in the 2026 session of the General Assembly. So when we spoke a couple of weeks ago with Becky and Lucas and Kim and I, we thought the threat was going to be much more imminent than it is today. So I'm happy to share with you that the threat for 2026 has been mitigated. However, that does not mean we shouldn't be vigilant, be talking to our members of the General Assembly about the importance of licensure, how we're involved in many, many different practice settings, how we're involved in, oh, wow, I just got some feedback there, sorry. How we're involved in patient care, begin to explain who we are, what we do, and how we're healthcare providers, because we, while not unique, our challenge, much is the same challenge that the music therapists have, in that a lot of people think you are personal trainers, not healthcare providers. And that's on you to educate your legislators on that. And music therapists, they think they're music teachers, not providing therapy. So the threat has been mitigated for now. I'm happy to spend a couple of minutes just tell you kind of what's going on politically in Indiana, because it's the information I'm about to give you is good for 5 minutes, and then things could change, because I did one of these yesterday morning, and as soon as I got off the call, things had changed. The governor, as you may know, has called a special legislative session. Indiana Constitution does empower the governor to do that, and only the governor to do that. The governor is only permitted to call the session. He may not set boundaries on what the legislature may discuss. So he called the special session convening yesterday, November 3rd. The legislature said, well, we're not coming in. But the parameters of the proclamation calling for the special session and the Constitution allows the governor to call a special session not to exceed 40 days, calendar days in length, and 30 calendar days in actual meeting time. So do the math. That takes you to December 12th. Somewhere in there on November 18th, roughly, or exactly, the General Assembly will convene for the 2026 legislative session. So we may have a scenario where the legislature is in special session and regular session at the same time. I cannot tell you at 7-11 on the 4th of November exactly how that will be rectified. Sometimes, and you know this in your practice, sometimes there are questions that don't have answers. We don't have an answer to that yet. With the Speaker of the House, Todd Huston, and the President Pro Tem of the Senate, Rod Bray, so collectively known as Todd and Rod, have announced that they're not coming in to deal with this till December 1st. There'll be 2 weeks. The regular session begins on November 18th. So we don't know what's going on, really. The two issues that the governor would like addressed in the special session are redistricting of Indiana congressional districts. And there were, in the Big Beautiful Bill Act, there were a number of tax provisions that become effective for tax year 2026. 5 of them, I don't know what they are. Our client, the Indiana CPA Society, is working with the administration to work on implementation. So those two issues we know will be addressed prior to the first of the year. We don't know whether they will be part of the 2026 session or part of a 2025 special session. But what we have heard is, just I was reading before we logged on here, that the end of the 2026 session will be sometime in mid to late February instead of the normal mid-March. So there won't be a lot done. So that's all good. So I just, again, I contemplated whether I would join you tonight or just tell you all is good. My message to you tonight is we need to really start working toward the 2027 session. We need to begin educating the members of the General Assembly, whoever they may be, because we do have an intervening election in 2026. We need to get close to those legislators before the 2027 session, talk about the importance of athletic trainer coverage, of athletic trainer licensure, and the good work you do in all care settings. With that, because I know you have a fairly lengthy business meeting. By the way, I will tell you the 2026 session, we're looking at, Kim has up on the screen right now, the bill count. It's just a shorter session. There'll be a similar number of bills filed. We just have to work much harder, much faster. So we will be there on your behalf. Thank you for continuing to be a client of the Corden Group. As some of you know, I've been representing you almost my entire lobby career, and I'm starting my 36th session. So happy to keep working with you if you'll have me. And I know maybe that's an item for discussion later, which I won't be here for. But Becky, happy to answer any questions. If there was something you or Lucas would like me to cover, I'm happy to do that as well.
Lou, I think you got everything that I wanted you to talk about. Thank you.
Welcome.
Me too, Lou. Yeah.
Becky, we say in this world, it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Right.
Yeah. I
We're not
actually
in-
have a sign that says that.
We're not in the crosshairs, and that's good.
Yeah, and that's the news you gave us is great. So
Yeah. We thought I might be delivering worse news tonight, which is why you had me here. You didn't want to do
no, I didn't want to.
it.
So thank
Questions from others, I'm happy to entertain. Otherwise, I'm happy to let you get on with your night and I can get on with mine. Kim, anything I missed?
I don't think so. Just a quick note. There's a note. Scott Lawrence wanted to leave you a note. Thanks, Lou, for everything you've done for us and continue to do on behalf of ATs in our profession.
You're very welcome. It's been my honor.
Yep. Lou, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Lou.
Okay. Have a great night. Have a great meeting.
Thanks,
Talk
Lou.
to you soon.
All right, Becky, it's back to you.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to thank the Executive Council, which consists of President-elect Jenny DeArt, Treasurer Tiffany Franklin, Secretary Kristen Carden, our GLADA representative Patrick O'Haver, Communications Committee Megan Wilson, our COPA Chair Clark Simpson, Development Committee Matt Harmon, Governmental Affairs Lucas Dargo, and Professional Development Committee Kathy Remsburg and Vince Stilger, and the Committee on Community and Connections, which we just sent out an email recently on, and we are looking for some people to help head that up. Yeah, out in the gym. She's wearing a Spalding. Sorry about that, folks. I would like to especially thank Tiffany Franklin for finishing her term as treasurer, and Patrick O'Haver, who is finishing his term as the GLADA representative. And elections. You need to be watching your emails for the first week of December for the election ballot. We will be electing a president-elect, a treasurer, and a secretary. Jenny DeArt will be assuming the role of president in March of 2026. I would also be remiss if I did not thank our committee coordinators. AT's Care Committee is Karen Holmes and Marion Goshorn. Histories and Archives, Beth Makito. Honors and Awards Committee, Rachel Deal. Scholarship Committee, Lauren Burish. Research Committee, Jan Clifton Gaw. And CCAT, Abigail Pitts and Lindsay Cripple. And as always, we are always looking for volunteers for committee membership. All of our IATA committees are looking for people to volunteer. So if anyone is interested, please reach out to myself or to Kim Williams. we would like to thank our following sponsors. The Clark Group is one of our elite sponsors. Forte Sports Medicine and Orthopedics is a gold sponsor and very helpful in sponsoring our summer symposium. We'd also like to thank Healthy Roster for joining us as a silver sponsor. Some of our member benefits. We have our advocacy, the Corden Group, which is available to you. Member forum on the website. We have a podcast that Daniel runs. We have professional development, both in person and online. And we have discounts for education sessions. And membership only section of the website is available to you as a member. So some of the activities that your executive board has been up to. We have updated our bylaws. We're in the process of finalizing the updates to the policies and procedures. We've merged the National Athletic Training Month Committee and the Communications Committee. We've merged Membership Engagement Committee and Diversity Committee into the new Committee on Community and Connection. The annual symposium, the student symposium, and the partnership with Healthy Roster for online education. And part of that includes some of the events from our lectures from our summer meeting. The annual symposium was a success again this year, so please consider signing up and going again. And again, I would like to thank Forte for hosting us. Please mark your calendar for June 7th, 2026 for the symposium. And the 5th for our awards ceremony. This year for the student symposium, we had 136 attendees, 21 quiz bowl teams, and educational topics, as well as a career speed dating. So that qualifies as a success. And Purdue was the winner of the quiz bowl. And we'll be going on to GLADA and hopefully on to the NATA. So we're in the process of doing an IATA website revamp. We are very close to having that done. We're going to have a new URL website up. It's going to be the Indiana Athletic Trainers, all spelled out, .org. Our financial plan to better utilize our investments is in the works. We are going to send out a membership survey. We want to know what you want out of the IATA and what you want us to do so that we can better serve you. And we are working on a work plan for 2026. And as a reminder, we have the BOC renewal. The Board of Certification is updating the certification renewal deadline for athletic trainers to provide greater flexibility and support. So the new renewal deadline is January 31st. This period's deadline is actually going to end up being Monday, February 2nd. But this does not change your renewal for your Indiana license. Our Indiana license is still due on December 31st, 2025. So please remember that and mark your calendars. Tiffany Franklin at this time will give us our financial update.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so what you see here is the 2024 financial update. It's kind of crazy that we're talking about 2024 here in November of 2025. But this annual meeting is reporting out on last year's annual year finances. So the first box that you see, so actually back up here, these individual boxes are the revenue streams that are important to IATA's income and to our overall success. So some of those larger categories where we receive our income are from membership dues, grants and sponsorships, and then event income. I will talk about each of these, but I'll start with membership dues. You can see the navy blue in 2023 fiscal year. We brought in around 55,000 in membership dues. And then in the 2024 fiscal year, we were down at 47,000, just under 48,000. So one of the things to be aware of and be mindful of is this is nothing specific to Indiana. This is actually a national thing. I've actually gone back and looked at numbers since 2017. The NATA membership has been declining. I know that NATA is working on trying to change that, but ultimately, when you pay to be an NATA member, it trickles down to be a regional member to your state dues. So every state is seeing this, and we have not raised our Indiana dues in a while, so that affects what people pay when they become a member of NATA, which then trickles down to the regional and the state. So far as grants and sponsorships, in 2023, we brought in a little over 19,000. And this past fiscal year in 2024, we brought in 25,750. Now I want to speak on this for just a moment. The reason why that number looks so high for 2024 was because every so many years we get an additional check from our GLATA, from our regional association. And that is a spillover mechanism. That's not always something that we expect. So we never actually put that in something that we're budgeting for the next fiscal year. So we didn't budget for it and actually got it that year. And that was $10,000. So if you take that $10,000 check out of there, that's actually a $15,000 income in 2024 compared to $19,500 in 2023. So one of the things that I would like to bring everybody's attention to is sponsorships have also decreased in the last several years. We've heard from our partner neighboring states, it's not just Indiana. A lot of companies and organizations are changing the way they sponsor organizations such as IATA. So we really need to start thinking outside of the box. We've started thinking about some of these things with our development chair, Matt Harmon. He's trying to think of other creative ways. We did something different this year with our student symposium. That was a really good opportunity for employers. So that's definitely going to have to take a different direction and some different ideas. So if you've got any, we need more people to serve on that committee for the development as far as helping us get sponsorships and grants and thinking about that. So those are two of the major revenue streams for IATA. The other one is event income, which you can tell in 2023, we barely had any event income. That's predominantly because we had NATA in our backyard here in Indianapolis in 2023. So we didn't hold an annual meeting that year, which is where a lot of our income comes from, our annual meeting, our annual symposium. We had a reception that night, one of those evenings, and then we had the student symposium, which is pretty small. And then in 2024, it's more realistic of about what we bring in between the annual symposium and the student symposium. And then program income is job bank. So you could see this past fiscal year, we were down a lot in people wanting to put out job posts. So I think we might want to rethink what employers are getting for that. Maybe we could become a little bit more creative with that and sell that a little bit more. We've got a lot of jobs, wonderful jobs in Indiana. We want to get it to our members. And then the interest comes from our money market share, which is actually in our savings account. And that's our income, at a glance at our income. If there's any questions about that, I can take a question. Okay, moving on to our expenses. So our IATA expenses are going to directly correlate with the work that it takes to sustain the organization. We're not fancy. We don't do a lot of flashy things. We simply utilize our income for things like professional services, what it takes to hold our annual meeting, and our research and scholarships, and some of our committee work, and then some administration. So I'll talk about what each of these are. For a long time, IATA has utilized professional services with Association Management, the Corrigan Group, and with Lou Belch, our lobbyist and legislative representation. So that's what a lot of our expenses go to every year, and longstanding good relationship with the Corrigan Group and with Lou Belch. And there's a 2023. We're flipped here. 2023 is backwards, different color. All right, so flip your minds. The last slide, 2023, was darker. Now this slide, we're actually looking at gold here as the 2023 fiscal year. And we spent more money that year on professional services because we spent more money in the legislative efforts that year. I believe that was part of the year passing the updated Practice Act. So we had more money and more time spent on that with Lou Belch and legislative efforts. And then the second biggest expense for us is event expenses. The year that we did not have an annual meeting, we lost revenue. We also didn't spend as much. We only spent a little over $5,000, and that was that we did a reception that year that was a little unique for the year. If you recall, if you attended that reception in 2023 when we did not have an annual meeting, and then we had the student symposium. This past fiscal year, that money event expenses lines up with the annual symposium and the student symposium. I had one more thing on there. There's one more thing. Oh yeah, receptions and awards. So spending money on those actual awards that we hand out at the reception, not just the food. And then administrative, those are things like credit card use, fees, our insurance, and our website. Our website takes the majority of that. Not much different between the last two fiscal years. And then in 2024 with our committee work, we had a little bit more work with our marketing in 2024. We had a little bit more work with our marketing and marketing campaign. And that was pretty successful, which we did not utilize much of that money in 2023. So that's the big difference there. And then with research and scholarship, we have 4 specifically that we budget for every year, but not all of them are applied to. So our scholarship chair has done a really good job. I think trying to make that more clear on the website and on the rubrics to promote and to help those scholarships, getting more people to apply to those. And then one of them is a research scholarship, which doesn't necessarily every year get utilized either. So I think that's it on expenses, a majority of the expenses. If anybody has questions on that. Okay, moving forward. So financial update as far as 2024, we had a total income of $89,219 and some change, with our total expenses being at $83,750 or $83, $83,750 in total expenses. So that brought our net income a little over 5,000. These last couple of years have been pretty difficult in balancing the budget, so we were happy to end up with a net income on that. And with our account balances, with the end of the fiscal year 2024 in checking, so this does not include operational income and expenses, just as what we have in checking, what we had in checking at the end of the 2024 fiscal year was a little over 68,000, or about 68,660. So, and then with savings, we had 51,386 in savings. And then our prudential account, at the end of fiscal year 2024, we had $173,733. And I wanted to just quickly highlight that Prudential investment account is currently set up on a moderately aggressive portfolio. So we've seen quite a bit of growth in that investment account, which, as Becky mentioned, we've talked about some strategies of potentially using some investment and utilizing that to our advantage. So for example, at the end of 2023, that account was sitting at 159,000, and at the end of 2024 it was sitting at 173,733. So in the last 5 years, it's seen a little over $60,000 in growth. So we're working on a plan with that. So that's to be continued in a future update. I think that's it as far as just the overview. with financial update as far as net income, where we're at with checkings and savings as of last year's end of year, and then the long-term savings account. Again, I'm happy to take any questions on that. If anybody has anything, or if it comes up later, I can answer that later too. So I
Hey-
mentioned, oh
Hey,
yeah, go ahead.
Tiffany?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Chrissy Lauber. So you were talking about the prudential, I mean, and doing something with that. Are you thinking of other investment opportunities or using the funds? I guess I'm just a little bit confused of, you say guys were looking into some things, just, I mean, you don't
Yeah.
have to get into the, the weeds, but just
Yeah.
kind of some high level type things.
Absolutely. So we are aware that GLADA has some spillover mechanisms. Once the accounts reach a certain amount, those spillover mechanisms can fund certain things, certain accounts. So broadly speaking, some of those ideas have been pitched around to our financial committee, and we are currently in process with moving, well, not moving forward, but really the next step on our next meeting of discussing what does this actually mean? How does it become operational? What's appropriate? So working with the accordion group and their support has been helpful in that. So we don't have specific answers on that. We're just trying to see how those savings can be beneficial to certain potential projects or opportunities.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. And then one of the things I would like to also reiterate is that in our policies and procedures, it does say that we would always keep at minimum $100,000 in our checking and savings. So we're clearly reaching that and no problem with that. But long term, I think, what we've discussed as a board and as an executive council is it's not a spending problem, it's a revenue problem. And with membership and sponsorship being our two biggest revenue generating line items, and seeing those line items be affected by just the nature that we're in with the state of what's going on in the country and in people's states and incomes, and it's a trickle down effect. So we've got to become more creative and find different ways that we can support our association. Okay, so I'm going to speak a little bit more on membership. So this slide represents, if you kind of look around November to January of each year, you kind of see the spike, and that's when people are typically renewing their memberships, or they haven't renewed yet. So you see the number drop down in January, and you can kind of see if you were to take a line from 2022 each year, it's dipping. And so at the end of, well, the latest this chart goes here is July of 2025. It's just over 1,000 members for, this is specifically to IATA. But if you were to look back in July of 2023, we were 1,150 maybe. July of 2022, it dipped again. So it's pretty inconsistent as far as membership, but just showing you all what we're seeing from a membership standpoint. And this is coming from, our national level too. So numbers are down. It's no surprise. I know NATA is working to be creative to try to get those membership numbers up. Anyways, we can have a whole conversation on that. That kind of leads me into the next thing that I just want to make mention of. It's not something that IATA necessarily wants to promote loudly. I do feel like it's important to provide opportunity to maybe somebody who can't pay that GLADA, or I'm sorry, that NATA fee for the year, but maybe they really want to support in some way. They could be a state member, state only member. Sorry, my dogs are going to bark. They could be a state only member. And like I said, we don't want to promote this loudly. It's not something where we're trying to compete with NATA membership. We would love for all of our members to be members of our national organization, which gives you membership to the state and the regional. However, sometimes things happen, life happens. It might just be all that somebody can be involved in at that point. So it's $60 annually. That would be somebody that would just sign up to be a member just with IATA, and that information can be found on the members only part of it can be found on our website, which right now is not currently completely up. If you try to go to it, it says in progress. So just wanted to throw that caveat out there. But something to consider for colleagues who may not be members of NATA for certain reasons right now. Next slide. So communications. So these are our IATA e-blasts that go out. We have a really good open rate on these, around 62%. So that's good. People are opening up those member e-blasts that are coming out to you. And I tend to share those out with people that I didn't know if they were IATA members, just to kind of encourage them to, hey, look and see some things that you can be a part of if you're an IATA member. I think most of the people around me are now, but I can stop sharing those. But we have a good open rate and there's some good information in there. If you're wanting something else in those, if you feel like IATA needs to be more transparent on something, we don't know until you tell us type thing, make sure you let somebody know so we can include those things on there. I have asked our Lucas Dargo with our governmental affairs chair that we be very communicative and transparent about what's coming in the future, where our members can help be supportive, and how we can advocate and where we need to come together. So that's definitely something that will be put out there when the time comes. We definitely lean on Lou to help us understand what needs to be communicated and when. And then don't forget to follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. And then how long ago was it, Kim, maybe Becky, maybe one of you remember when we actually switched accounts? So there's actually an old account. If you look on Instagram for IATA, you can find the old account. We did switch that.
It's been about 3 years.
Okay. I went to go tag some stuff with the student symposium and I saw the old one and I actually tagged that one first. So I went back and corrected it. So something we can fix on the back end, but be sure to follow us, like, share things, get our stuff out there. We do have a communications chair and actually co-chair, I think, chair with a good help with another chair or committee member that posts a lot of things and is happy to put content out. We just need to know what content we need to put out there. And I think that's it on communications. Anything else to add? Okay, I'm going to kick it back over to, I think this one's Becky again.
Thank you, Tiffany. So in 2025, we had the honor and award. We had many honors and awards. And I'd like to start with scholarship and research. So we were able to award all of our scholarships this year and a research grant, which we hadn't done for a while. So the 2025 Binky Professional Education Scholarship went to Charlotte Hall from Indiana University. The 2025 Dixon Professional Scholarship went to Tyler Cobb from Indiana University. The Diversity Scholarship went to Gabriela Hernandez Lopez from Purdue University. And the research grant went to Dr. Matthew J. Rivera from Indiana State University. I'd like to congratulate all of those recipients again. The President's Excellence Award was given to Dr. Adam Thompson and to Kim Williams. The Professional Excellence Award was given to Tiffany Franklin, Gusta Owens, and Tim Nurenberg. Sorry. I got tripped up on that one. Our IATA Diversity Award was given to Jessica Elmrick Jokum. Sorry, I keep getting choked up on this. And the Team Physician Award went to David Harsha from Hendricks Hospital System. The Joe Harvey Distinguished Service Award went to Lucas Dargo. Hall of Fame induction to Marion Goshorn and Patrick O'Haver. And I would like to lay down the challenge now for all of you who are on today to start considering who you could nominate for one of these awards for next year. Does anyone have any old or new business that they would like to bring up? Okay, memorials. I'd like to take this time to remember Chris Sheppers, Rick Shaw, and McKenna Mikesell, who we have lost. And at this time, we will adjourn the IATA annual business meeting for 2025.